What's it like living with schizophrenia?
Like there's so much clutter like in my room and I'm trying to figure out ways to clean it, clear it, and get rid of it. That's like the way my thought process is and my brain. And it can become sort of like incoherent and disorganized, and it takes me sometimes much more time to formulate a sentence and or an idea to bring it out into life because of the sort of like the clutter that sometimes like 10 or 11 different sentences that are kind of like together in my head and trying to like take out one at a time to bring it down to the surface like I'm doing now and just going and run a, sometimes I have to be told to just be like, okay, one word was great. I'm like, okay, yeah, cool.
How did you feel when you were first diagnosed?
Me? Yeah, right. Like, you know, those are the other people, right? Like the ones you see on the street who are homeless and screaming profanities and or either drunk. Yeah, so there was a lot of self-judgment and it still is sometimes that way. That's part of it. The other part, I guess, could be a sense of relief over the years. I mean, when I first got diagnosed, it wasn't like that, but over the years, I guess relief, you know, because it sort of helps me understand what it is that's going on and like, okay, fine, maybe other people have similar symptoms, and so like it starts to register a little bit more. And then once I realize that, then I can kind of maybe push it to the side a little bit to make room for more self-discovery and to be able to just, utilize my energy for something else. So, it's, you know, pros, cons. I don't know.
What would you tell someone who's struggling with symptoms and they're not really sure what's going on?
It's a good question. You know, I'm trying to like look back and remember what I did. And I can only say first that I was so afraid and ashamed. So, you know, I think, you know, having people in your life who are fully 100% compassionate and accepting and love you for who you are no matter what is first and foremost, you know, because if you can't reach out to somebody, even in your confusion, you know, then that can make it 1,000 times more challenging, and you'll feel alone. And the key is not to feel alone, even during those, you know, those most frightening times. So just make sure you have a support of people who are just, who can fully embrace every aspect of who you are. Recently I've used this hashtag on Instagram and like social media a little bit, and it seems to be like a thing that people enjoy, which is, I tell myself and other people, especially in the entertainment industry, there's no rule book, baby. Like, what do I tell myself? There's no rule book, you know? There's no rule book. Whoever made one, you know? And why do we have particular standards, you know, that we have to follow? So, you know, just learn yourself more than anything else. Just learn yourself and follow your intuition, you know, at the end of the day. And don't let anybody tell you otherwise.
What's been the hardest part about living with schizophrenia?
When I'm stuck and I'm dealing with all kinds of symptoms, I have a tendency to immediately say, God damn it, I can do more. I need to get out there. I need to, you know, like, oh, I have a performance, or oh, I need to not cancel my gig or something. And it's like I forget about my own needs, my own self-care, because I'm so used to the way society compares, you know, ourselves to other people. Like, I'm like, oh, well, you know, they're doing that. That singer can seem to, like, you know, book 1,000 shows and get out there or something, right? And it's like we have this tendency. And so, like, I forget, or I'm still learning, rather, what my threshold is, right? And it's like every time I fall I fall down, I'm like, great, I couldn't seem to make it like that other person. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is you simply can't measure yourself to others. Does that make sense, that sentence? Like you can't, you can't measure yourself. Like you have to find your way and be your own measuring stick. And know your threshold, and just, yeah.
Can you think about any positives to having schizophrenia?
I guess if you're asking me from one point, from a medical standpoint, is there anything positive? Probably not. If you're asking me from the perspective of does schizophrenia, I don't know, allow me to be more sensitive and touch upon, my more creative skills, which I think is a misconception too, but then sure, I have, I think a little bit differently, and so therefore I might be able to see the world and people and social behaviors from 7 or 8 different perspectives, which can be good, but also somewhat confusing and make my brain go into a loop. So I guess it comes with maybe a more depth of awareness of yourself and other people.
What would you tell someone who is struggling with this illness and feels alone?
You are alone. Get over it. No, just kidding. To be honest, that's... Okay, so partially that can be true at times. I'm experiencing that right now. Not fully, but you know how it is. It's when you're just kind of woe is the world, I have nobody. And so, that can kind of get in the way. But always know, even inside of the loneliness that you're feeling, which could be true, you do have people around you who are open enough and willing to embrace you and listen. And it just takes time, and I think a part of it is that you need to reach out as well, right? It takes two. And you have to be vulnerable, like you were saying earlier. It's about, I guess it's about vulnerability, and when you sort of let go a little bit, and sure, that has a little risk, you're also allowing other people, possibly, to come into your life and be helpful as well, to make you feel less alone. And so I think it's responsibility, and it's a give and take. So I guess that's the gist of it.